It's arguably the most fascinating parish in Jamaica. No matter where in the country you go, if you don't touch down in this capital, then you really haven't experienced the pulse of the nation. Or so many have said. This is the parish, recently designated as a creative city of music. Where am I talking about? Kingston. On today's show, brushing up on the history of the capital, somewhere to see, and what's happening in town. This is Jamaica Magazine, and I am Theodore Henry. Please, stick with us.
This is the Aedes aegypti mosquito that spreads the Zika, chikungunya, and dengue viruses. Search for its breeding sites and destroy them. A message from the Ministry of Health.
Good day, I'm Tamara McHale, and this is your GIS News for Friday, September 24. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is encouraging Jamaicans at home and in the diaspora to sign a petition seeking a United States presidential pardon for national hero Marcus Garvey, who was convicted of mail fraud in 1923.
I urge you to do it because Marcus Garvey is our national hero. But in the United States, he is not so recognized. And there is a charge against him, which we believe he should be exonerated from that. That should be struck from the record.
The Prime Minister was speaking at a town hall meeting, Queens, New York, Thursday. 100,000 signatures are needed by September 28 for the U.S. government to consider the posthumous pardon for the island's first national hero. Persons wishing to sign the petition may do so at justiceforgarvey.org. Jamaica has signed the instrument of ratification of the ILO Convention C-189, or Domestic Workers Convention. While committing his government to empower women economically, Prime Minister Andrew Holness encouraged other nations to sign on to the convention.
We are committed to the protection of the rights of the most vulnerable among us and to ensuring the welfare of all domestic workers within the framework of our determination to promote decent work for all.
Prime Minister Holness made the remarks Thursday at the UN High-Level Panel on the Economic Empowerment of Women. The ILO Convention C-189, or the Domestic Workers Convention, seeks to improve the working and living conditions of all household workers. State-run gaming industry authorities are to be merged into one regulatory entity. Portfolio Minister Audley Shaw says a new gaming commission will be formed from the merger of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission and the Jamaica Racing Commission.
This body will be the main advisory body to the government on gaming and will be given the resources and powers to regulate the industry through the issuance of operating licenses, the development of codes of practice, and monitor compliance in regard to law and regulations.
Mr. Shaw was speaking Thursday at the 3rd Annual Gaming Industry Summit in Kingston. A legislative committee has been established to facilitate the merger. The Finance Minister, meanwhile, says government has finalized negotiations for the divestment of Caymanas Track Limited to Supreme Ventures Limited. Mr. Shaw says the proposed terms for the divestment will be submitted to Cabinet for approval in October and that every effort is being made for a speedy handover.
And I say to the stakeholders, everybody from the trainers to the owners of horses to everyone, don't be afraid of this divestment. It is going to make the industry better, stronger, and yes, wealthier.
Minister of Finance and the Public Service Audley Shaw has given the assurance that there is no shortage of foreign exchange in the Jamaican market. Speaking in Parliament on Tuesday, Mr. Shaw said the island's reserves were healthy and the Bank of Jamaica has met the increased demand with active intervention sales to the foreign exchange market.
I want to emphasize, Mr. Speaker, that with our current gross international reserves, we are able to cover 25 weeks of projected imports of goods and services. The net international reserves is over $2.5 billion and the gross reserves is over $3 billion United States dollars.
Up to $3 billion in investments are expected over the next 5 years from the planned upgrading of the Alpart alumina plant in St. Elizabeth by Chinese-owned Jiquan Iron and Steel Company JISCO. This as the China Development Bank CDB has pumped an additional $200 million into the project, which will also see the Alpart area being established into a special economic zone. The details were revealed on Thursday at a signing ceremony for a framework cooperation agreement between JISCO, the government of Jamaica, and the CDB at the Office of the Prime Minister.
We are serious about growth and development in the Jamaican economy. I'm renewed in my faith to make Jamaica, as this government is, the choice to live, raise families, and do business as we seek to impart the educational process between two countries coming together to develop a whole area of its economy.
3 other agreements are to be signed under the project. They are the Establishment Agreement, the Fiscal Agreement, and the Agency Agreement. In July this year, Russian mining company UC Rusal finalized the $300 million sale of the Alpart alumina refinery to JISCO. Meanwhile, JISCO has promised to use environmentally friendly methods in the plant's operations. And finally, the Tourism Ministry is on a drive to make the products of the sector more accessible to all Jamaicans. Portfolio Minister Edmund Bartlett says this includes the physically and mentally challenged. This will be the main objective during Tourism Awareness Week 2016, being observed September 25 to October 1, under the theme Tourism for All, promoting universal accessibility.
So beaches, for example, we regard as being a public good and a facility that must be available to all. And so we have spent $350 million to date on improving a number of beaches to enable facilities on those beaches that all types of individuals, irrespective of their abilities, can access and can enjoy.
The activities for Tourism Awareness Week will include a social media competition, a poster competition, beach development program expose on September 27 at Boston Beach in Portland, and the official launch of the National Community Tourism Portal on September 28 at Devon House in St. Andrew. And that's it for GIS News Today. I'm Tamara McHale. Thank you for watching.
There's so much to do in Kingston. Shop, party, go to school, and a wide variety of other activities. But what do you know about Kingston? I'm talking about when it was founded, its functions, how it grew. Get in the know. Watch this.
Kingston, modern-day Jamaica's capital city, is home to the world's 7th largest natural harbor and the island's center of finance and commerce. This is a city which hath foundation. Towards the end of the 16th century, Kingston was an area of housing boasting little more than a few pigs, pig farmers, and fishing shacks. Following the catastrophic earthquake of 1692, a major portion of the nearby flourishing town of Port Royal perched on the opposite side of the harbor went crashing beneath the sea. Survivors found refuge on the piece of land encasing the harbor that would come to be known as Kingston. The vision for a new town was to be realized after the purchase of the land from Governor William Beeston. Soon after, a new town, based upon a town plan drawn up by John Goff, a surveyor, was succeeding the commercial epicenter of Port Royal. Kingston was declared by law as a parish in 1693 and a town 20 years later. The natural harbor by the town enabled it to flourish as an important seaport, and traders who grew fat on the profits built fine houses throughout the town. As the center of commerce and fashion, Kingston rapidly outshined Jamaica's tranquil official capital in Spanish Town. Talks of moving the capital from the St. Catherine area to the big city created a split between the planter and the administrative classes, who were resisting the move, and the merchants wanting the capital in Kingston. But the move was carried out by Governor Charles Knowles, who passed an act transferring the government offices to Kingston in 1755. Controversy brewed, and the merchants' success was short-lived, as soon after Governor Knowles was recalled to London in 1758, the next governor repealed the act. Spanish Town was once again the capital. A huge procession of carts brought back the island's papers to Spanish Town, a victory against Knowles and the merchants, celebrated with bonfire and a burning effigy of Knowles and his ship. Kingston would continue to grow as Jamaica's center of commerce, but there would be challenges. In 1874, the area had to deal with the major challenge of overcoming a devastating hurricane. In the aftermath, development plans progressed, and in 1802, the town was granted city status. Growth continued despite other calamities, such as a huge fire in 1843, a cholera epidemic in 1850, and another fire in 1862. Rapid infrastructural developments began following the arrival in 1866 of Governor Sir John Peter Grant. Kingston was embellished with its first piped water system, a gas works, a fire brigade, and a market. Improvements were made to streets and public buildings and a mule-drawn tram car. The city of Kingston was now a much healthier and more prosperous place to live. The unavoidable came in 1872. Over a century after it was first changed, the capital was once again transferred to Kingston, this time permanently. In 1897, electricity generation began by West India Electric Company, and the city saw the installation of its first electric line from the tram depot on Orange Street to the foot of King Street. Over the centuries, Kingston has transformed with more appealing features and sturdy buildings, while preserving its historically grand architectural structures. At the center of downtown Kingston, the powder blue Ward Theatre flanks Parade on the north. To the east, Coke Methodist Church. The first Methodist chapel built in Jamaica, the beautiful Kingston Parish Church, sits south, and westward is Coronation Market, the largest and most frequented in the island. Kingston remains the seat of power and the main port of entry to the island, with the Norman Manley International Airport perched on the breathtaking Palisado Strip.
I remember when I didn't like school and Mommy used to have to wake me up. Tabla, hurry up. You're going to be late for school.
Hey, now that I have a tablet, you don't need to wake me up. Since Mommy and Daddy bought me a tablet, I use my tablet for all kinds of cool stuff. I use my tablet to read books. I use my tablet to learn about history and science. I use my tablet to help with my homework. I even use it to talk to my daddy at work. Hello, Daddy!
Learning is easy and fun with a tablet. Take care of your tablet, use it wisely.
A Kingston sight to behold is the Jamaica National Heritage Trust, popularly known as JNHT. The trust is responsible for the promotion, preservation, and development of the country's material cultural heritage. The building which houses the trust, however, is one of architectural beauty. It's our focus. Take a look.
The
Jamaica National Heritage Trust is more than just a building that houses artifacts. It's a symbol of our post- and pre-independence period. Also known as Headquarters House, the JNHT is just one of many buildings that tell the story of our rich history. It got the name because it was once the military headquarters of the War Office in 1814. The building was constructed in 1755 and was home of Thomas Hibbert. On November 12 that same year, the Legislative Assembly met there while Hibbert was acting as Speaker. It later became the seat of government and the office of the Colonial Secretariat from 1872 to 1960.
The government of the day in 1872 decided to move the capital from Spanish Town into Kingston. This became the center of governance. This is where the Legislative Council used to sit. And after 1944, this is where the beginning of governments by the Jamaican people, elected through universal adult suffrage, became the seat of governance. After 1944, we had a number of other constitutions which led us to self-government and ultimately to independence in 1962. So it was in this room that Bustamante and Manley and other great luminaries of the legislative period of governance from 1944 used to persuade their party members to vote in their favor. And as a result of a combined effort, we agreed to become independent, and we negotiated with Britain for the purposes of independence on June the 6th, 1962.
The size of the chamber would suggest that the number of government officials were few.
As a result of independence in 1962, the government also decided that they needed a new building to hold a larger parliament. And that's why Gordon House was created next door. So that's the joining relationship between this Legislative Council building, which is now the headquarters of the Jamaica National Heritage Trust, and Gordon House next door, in which our parliament sits. It's a very exciting corner of Jamaica, a very exciting corner of Kingston. And of course, the political parties today, when they march to Gordon House, one party moves from Headquarters House, as it is still known as, and the other party moves from the northern side of Duke Street and comes together in the Parliament. The cabinet room, or the room in which the government ministers sat, is upstairs, is in fact the boardroom of the trustees of the Jamaica National Heritage Trust. Today, the building is used for a variety of different purposes, which include the storage of artifacts, as well as the various departments of the Jamaica National Heritage Trust. So it continues to be a very important building of history and heritage for our people. The fact that it was built in 1755 means that over these last 250 plus years, it has been subject to all sorts of natural disasters, including a fire next door which nearly took it down. So hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, and other natural disasters, this building has been able to survive them all.
Did you know that it was from this building on October 12, 1865, that Governor Edward John Eyre planned his attack against the St. Thomas freedom fighters? He declared martial law from this house on Friday, October 13. And it was also here that the Right Excellent George William Gordon was arrested in 1865 and taken to Morat Bay, where he was executed.
The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information is committed to ensuring that every Jamaican child has the best learning environment to thrive and needs your cooperation to make the education system work successfully.
What are the school's voluntary contributions for?
Co-curricular and sports activities and school development.
What amount are parents to contribute?
Your contributions are voluntary and the amount depends on the type of programs being offered by the school.
If my child is being denied access to school, can I complain to the ministry?
Yes. You can call or visit any of the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information's 6 regional offices or send an email to complaints@moey.gov.jm.
What support is there for PATH students?
PATH students are not expected to make contributions and are to be provided with 5 days free lunch as of this year.
Parents and guardians, do continue to make your voluntary financial contributions to your children's school. The institutions need your assistance for their school development and sporting activities. Remember, every child can learn. Every child must learn.
Kingston is also a great place for education. Some of the best schools are located in the capital. One such institution recently hosted a career building workshop for future leaders. School Zone was on location, and this is what they captured.
Coming up in today's School Zone.
If Facebook was a country, it would be the 3rd largest country in the world by users. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in a different world. I challenge you. The future is about gaining new and emerging skills. Open your minds and enjoy the ride.
Make sure that career path suits you, suits your personality.
The Trenchtown Polytechnic College hosts its Power Up Talk session. Plus,
we will tell you the winner of the SDC essay competition.
From creating a resume to the ins and outs of the music industry and even non-traditional careers that are making good money, the Trenchtown Polytechnic College Power Up Talk was all about empowering its students for success. There was even room for young people from neighboring institutions to learn the various pathways to success.
The first thing is looking at your cover letter and your resume. In preparing for your cover letter, before you start doing anything, once you see a job that you think it's an area that you want to go into, the first thing that you do is what? What you're going to do? Right. Secondly, you have to personalize your letter. Do some research, call the company, do a blind call and find out. So when you're addressing your letter, you can say, "Dear Miss Mary Jane, HR Director or HR Administrator," whatever the person's title is.
Hope you wrote down those tips. Now, with people like Bob Marley and the Wailers in its lineage and claim to rising acts like the Man with the Dream, is it any wonder a Trenchtown Power Up Talk would touch on what the music industry has to offer?
You can become a recording artist. I mean, most people want to become a DJ or a singer. And that is the first and the most seemingly dynamic one, the whole thing of stage and performance and many other things. You cannot also acquire technical skills and want to become like a record producer. You can also get to further to understand the whole thing of intellectual property. Why it is so important is that you can be involved in a song today where you write the lyrics or you build the beat. 40 years down the road, that song can make you more money then than you probably have ever made in your entire life once you had taken the proper course of action to have protect and preserved your rights. I mean, a cool quick example is Rihanna's new song, Work. Everybody know it. Richie Stephens basically created the original rhythm which is incorporated in her song. And that song, Richie will be smiling all the way to the bank. And this is like 18 years after.
Of course, there are other interesting career options.
I realize I like martial arts, so everything I do, I try to merge it. So going to college, I was doing a lot of gigs in choreographing for action sequence. Third World Cup, Dancehall Queen, a lot of theatrical productions. I was the man behind the scene who was choreographing the action sequence, the hand-to-hand combat. I'm stressing, there are so many other careers outside of the traditional careers.
Mariska Gibbon were in the zone need. The SDC recently had an essay and poster competition in St. James. Today we will tell you who won the essay competition.
And the winner of $20,000 from Seals Investment Limited is Savannah Summers.
Congrats, Savannah. Her winning essay was on lottery scamming. Here's a little bit of what she wrote.
It is clear that, along with policing, that programs have to be developed to try to present alternatives to crime in order to steer youth towards legitimate ways to earn a living. The Social Development Commission, being a community development organization, strives to integrate youth in society to enable them to make a livelihood rather than to turn to illegal activities such as lottery scamming.
Sound words, as we call it a wrap on today's show. We end with a career building tip from our friends over at the Trenchtown Polytechnic College.
It's better to make collaborations than be selfish and claim all the glory for yourself. Teamwork make the dream work.
Each time you're not paying full attention to the road environment, the greater your chances of getting in a crash like that. Plan routes to avoid focusing on GPS systems, prevent children from roaming in motor vehicles, turn down the volume of car stereo systems, pull off the roadway if you have to use mobile devices, do not read, watch television or eat while driving, avoid multitasking, and keep conversations with other passengers to a minimum. Whether you walk, ride or drive, avoid potentially fatal distractions.
Kingston has been our focus throughout the program, and the highlight continues. Now, however, on one area that we try hard to work around: traffic. Traffic in Kingston can be annoying, and that is why road users should be extra careful. Here are a few road safety tips. As pedestrians, when using the road, walk facing oncoming vehicles. Wear light-colored clothing at night. Clearly indicate to motorists your desire to cross the road and ensure that they see you. Walk in single file where there is no sidewalk or where the sidewalk is narrow. Bike riders and cyclists, these are for you. Observe traffic lights and stop signs. Do not hold on to moving vehicles. Ensure you are traveling in the right direction on a one-way street, and wear a helmet at all times. Observe these road safety rules to preserve your life. We need you to make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business.
Applications are still open for the Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology National Innovation Awards 2016. Closing date for submission is September 30. Mail or deliver your applications to Mrs. Andrea Carr, Coordinator Innovation Awards Secretariat at the Executive Director's Office of the Scientific Research Council, P.O. Box 350, Hope Gardens, Kingston 6. All entrants should consult the Jamaica Intellectual Property Office JIPO before submitting applications, which should bear the JIPO seal. For further information, visit src.gov.jm or call 927-177-124.
We've come to the end of Jamaica Magazine for this Friday. Thanks for spending time with us. Remember to keep up to date with the latest government info. Join us online at jis.gov.jm or watch our programs on our YouTube channel. And be sure to check out our other social media platforms. You may also catch a new edition of Jamaica Magazine tomorrow on this very station. Until then, I'm Theodore Henry. Have yourselves a great evening.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.